today's food adventures, we're going all the way over to Amsterdam for some delicious bitterballen. Everybody wants an appetizer in their repertoire that they know they can make very easily, is economical, and can serve a large crowd. This Dutch bitterballen is all of the above. Earlier this year, we traveled to Amsterdam, and this is when I first tasted the bitterballen, and I was hooked. You can pretty much get this at any bar or cafe or even restaurant. In fact, this was even served at a very fancy soiree in our hotel. The exterior of the bitterballen is crispy and delicious and is a complete contrast with the inside, which is deliciously creamy. This is made by creating a roux, or what the Dutch call a ragout. It's also studded with strands of beef, and the roux is made with a delicious stock made from beef, carrots, and leeks. After I tasted this bitterballen, I just knew I had to bring this back to you guys. I chased the chef around the hotel till he gave me the secrets of his recipe. But because the recipe was not really well documented, I also looked extensively on YouTube and through many recipes online till I found something that worked really well and tasted exactly like the bitterballen we had back in Amsterdam. I like to break this recipe into two parts, and I like to do this over 2 days. The first day, I'm going to prepare the stock. It's a very traditional Dutch stock, and I'm also going to prepare my roux. This is going to go into the fridge where it's going to sit and harden overnight. The next day, when the roux is ready, I'm going to simply use an ice cream scoop, and I'm going to scoop it into some breadcrumbs or crumbs, and I'm going to then dip it in egg, dip it for the second time in breadcrumbs, and I'm going to fry it. It's that easy. The 3 ingredients I'm going to use in this stock are simple. I'm going to use a 1-pound steak. Now I'm just using a really cheap cut of meat. I'm also going to use a couple of carrots as well as 1 leek. And I'm going to put everything together in my stock pot. Starting with a little bit of oil, I'm just going to sear the meat on both sides. Then I'm going to add in my carrots as well as my leeks. And I'm going to top this up with 2 liters of water. Now this stock can take anywhere from 2 hours to 2.5 hours to reduce down. I'm looking to get a delicious and dark stock, and the meat needs to be so tender that you can literally take it apart with 2 forks. Now you should yield about 2 cups of stock. When your stock is ready, I'm simply going to take the meat out and the vegetables. You can use the vegetables in another dish if you like, or you can discard them. And I'm going to pick through everything so I've got all of my meat in one bowl. Then I'm going to take my meat apart with 2 forks. I'm just looking to flake this, and don't feel afraid to get in there with your hands and break up any big lumps of meat. Strain your stock and leave it aside. Next, I'm going to work on the roux. Now this is what the Dutch call a ragout, and I was really confused, but all it is a simple roux of butter and flour. I'm going to start with 1 cup of butter, and when that's almost melted down, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of shallots. I've finely diced these shallots, and I'm just going to let them sweat in the butter. I'm going to follow this with 1 cup of regular all-purpose flour, but I'm going to add this in 1 tablespoon at a time. Now you do need to work really quickly. You need to make sure that all of that flour is dissolved in the butter. So you got to use your arms and keep stirring. I'm also going to add the stock now. I'm just going to add a little bit of stock at a time, and I'm going to keep working that ragout or that roux until it's well incorporated. If you find that this is a little bit thick, I have some water on hand. I'm just going to add another ½ cup or so of water because I want my mixture to be a nice thick consistency but not too thick. I'm also going to flavor this with some nutmeg. Now you can add as little or as much nutmeg as you like. Nutmeg is a very traditional ingredient and is always used in bitterballen. After I've got all of my ingredients well incorporated, it's time to add the meat in. I've shredded this meat and I'm just going to add it right into my saute pan. I'm also going to add salt to taste, And be careful when you add salt, because remember, you want to salt this slightly under than you're used to, because once this goes into your refrigerator overnight, it's actually going to thicken up a lot more and get more salty. So just watch your salt. Finally, I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley. Parsley is an integral part of this dish as it freshens up the filling. I like to divide this into 2 shallow Tupperware containers for a couple of reasons. One, they're going to set faster. But 2, I'm going to be able to work on one batch while the other one is still cooling in the fridge. The Bitterballen has 2 crumb layers. Now, in Amsterdam, they use a biscuit layer. Now, I wasn't able to gather enough intel about what kind of Dutch biscuits these were, and I wasn't able to find it. If you know exactly what kind of Dutch biscuits they use in a Bitterballen, feel free to leave me a message in the comment section below. I've searched for a very low sodium cracker, and this is going to work really well. I'm just going to take these crackers and break them up and throw them into my food processor, and I'm going to process them. If they have still few little lumps in them, I'm just going to throw those into a Ziploc bag, and using a rolling pin, I'm just going to smooth all of these out. I'm going to take my crumbs and put it onto a plate. And now that my filling is done, I'm going to take the filling out, and using an ice cream scoop, I'm simply going to scoop this right over my biscuit mixture. Now this is going to help me mold these into little round shapes. I'm going to cover the entire Bitterballen with the cracker crumb mixture, and I'm going to keep these aside. As I'm preparing the batch, anything that's ready, I'm going to stick them back into the fridge. If you were planning to freeze your Bitterballen for a later time, you will want to freeze them at this stage. Using a shallow Tupperware container, I like to add a layer of kitchen towel at the bottom. I'm going to add a little bit of breadcrumbs or biscuit crumbs right on top of that layer of tissue paper, and I'm going to line up all my Bitterballen. I'm going to cover it with another layer of kitchen towel, and then I'm going to seal it and put it away into my freezer. Now the reason I have the kitchen towel at the top and the bottom is that it's going to absorb any moisture in the freezer. If you're ready to make them right away though, we're going to need to dip them in some egg. You're going to need about 6 to 8 eggs for this batch. I'm simply going to beat the eggs 1 egg at a time, and I'm going to immerse the Bitterballen right inside the egg. Make sure to coat the Bitterballen completely in the egg, as you want the egg to seal it from the outside. I'm then going to dip it in some regular breadcrumbs, and I'm going to keep these aside. When I have enough prepared and ready, all I'm going to do is insert them in some hot oil, and I'm going to keep moving them around so they color evenly all over, and they're ready to serve. This really brings back memories of Amsterdam, the wonderful place and the really friendly people. If you want to check out the vlog that I did in Amsterdam and Paris, I'm going to leave that link in the description. If you want to try some of my other amazing appetizer recipes, try my firecracker shrimp or my butter chicken bites. Both of those are really unique. You can serve them at your parties or even for game night. Until I see you again, do take care. Bye.